This is part one of our lesson on significant figures. We're going to be going through rules 1 and 2 in this lesson, and then we'll do rules 3 and 4 in the next one. You are going to need this paper that is your significant figures guided notes. First, let's talk about what sig figs are. So sig figs, or significant figures, they're the digits in a measurement, in a number, that tell you how precise a measurement is. So for example, if we say that we have 76,000 seats in the Chiefs Stadium, that's technically a correct statement. It is accurate, but it's not very specific. There's not very many significant figures in this number. Now, if I say that there are 76,416 seats in the Chiefs Stadium, that is both a correct, accurate number, but it is also very precise. It is exactly the number of seats in Chiefs Stadium. Now let's compare them. So we have 76,000 versus 76,416. Obviously, this one is less precise. It only actually has two significant figures. The zeros here, they're not significant because basically this number is like it's rounded off. So that's why these numbers don't count. Here, all of these are non-zero values. Nothing here is rounded off, so it is all significant. So that second value, 76,416, has 5 sig figs. All non-zero numbers are significant. Now let's talk about what the 4 rules are. First, all non-zero numbers are significant. So go ahead and write that down in your rules for significant figures. And then 2, all zeros between significant figures are significant. 3, all zeros at the end of a number are only significant if there's a decimal point in that number. And 4, zeros before the non-zero numbers start are not significant. So in this video, I'll show you examples for rules number 1 and number 2, and then we'll follow up in a second video with rules 3 and 4. So for rule 1, all non-zero numbers are significant. So that means if a digit is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8, or 9, it's going to be significant. So under examples on your page here, if you will fill in for examples of non-zero numbers, well, just write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then for the no, you just need to put 0. So exactly the way that I have written that, like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 0 is not significant. Now, sometimes zeros are significant, and the first rule that we'll look at, and the only other rule that we'll look at today, is rule number 2, which says that zeros between sig figs are also significant. So in this example, there's a 1 on either side of the 0 in 101 Dalmatians. And that 0, because there's a 1 after it, we know that that is significant. It's not rounded off. So it does, in fact, count as significant. Here is another example. So PewDiePie, he's got 100,236,725 subscribers. And then where you can hit the subscribe button, it rounds the number off to just 100 million. So over here, because we have some non-zero numbers coming after those zeros, we know that these aren't rounded. But over here, we don't know if these are precise or not. We don't know if those zeros have been rounded off or not, so that's why they don't count. They're not between anything. Now here is another example. So we've got 4,309,586 views on this Minecraft video about a panda. It just looked cute. And that 0 being between the 3 and the 9 here, that does count as a significant figure. Now here is the example that I'm going to have you fill out on this page where it says, yep, here we go. So we have 4,309,440 views. We know that this 0 has to be significant because it's between the 3 and the 9. So this first 0 is significant. But we don't actually know if this 0 is rounded off or not. Now, you guys know and I know that the way that YouTube works is it usually keeps counting those views, and so that was probably an exact, like the 440th view was probably that counted one. So it probably is an exact number, but we don't necessarily know because there's not a decimal point there for us to be really, really sure. So that is why this one doesn't get counted as a sig fig. So please, for that example, if you'd write for yes for Rule 2 example, the yes one is the first 0, if you can see that, and the last 0 is not significant. So also, this 0 down here in the likes, or actually that's the dislikes, is between these, so it is considered significant down here as well. Okay, now let's do just a check for understanding. So skip over the rest of the boxes that are in this middle here and skip down to where we have check for understanding for Rule 2. And I want you to predict how many sig figs are in each of these numbers. So just tell me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, however many, write that into the blank. Now let's check your work. So in this first one, because we have this 1 at the end of the number, all of the numbers in between are considered between significant figures. So all of these numbers do count. We know that these numbers in the middle have not been rounded off. And so we have 5 sig figs here. If you got that one wrong, go ahead and correct it now. This is just notes. Next we have 52,030. Now this 0 comes between non-zero numbers, but this 0 is at the end. There's no decimal point there. We don't know if this number is rounded off or not, which is why we only count these 4 as the significant figures. Next number, the 17,800. These zeros, there's no decimal point. There's nothing on either side of them. They are not counted. So it's just these 3 non-zero numbers here that are considered significant. And in our last one, this 0 between the 2 and the 4 is significant, but the 1 at the end is not significant. So the significant figures are these 5 here. And that is the end for this first video on significant figures.